They honored late President Jimmy Carter in his home state of Georgia yesterday. A motorcade with Carter's flag-draped casket traveled through his hometown of Plains, and then on to Atlanta, where he now lies in repose at the Carter Presidential Center, before ceremonies move on to Washington on Tuesday. We've asked Rita Braver to take a closer look at the unlikely life story of our 39th president.
I would not tell a lie. I would not mislead the American people, and I would not betray your trust.
If anything defined Jimmy Carter, it was his basic decency and morality.
Thank you all again. Room, please. Thank you, everybody.
Elected in 1976 in the aftermath of Watergate and Gerald Ford's controversial pardon of Richard Nixon, Carter believed he had a responsibility to restore Americans' faith in the integrity of their government.
We want to be proud again. We just want the truth again.
It was a stunning rise to power for a little-known Georgia governor.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
Jimmy who? Jimmy who?
That was the question a lot of Americans asked when Carter first announced that he was going to run for the White House. Why did he think he could win?
He had a great sense of his own capabilities.
Stuart Eizenstat started working with Carter when he ran for governor in 1970 and ultimately became his White House chief of domestic policy.
This was during the campaign.
Though the son of a successful peanut farmer, Jimmy Carter grew up without electricity or running water just outside Plains, Georgia. Still, Carter would win admission to the Naval Academy. And while in Annapolis, he started dating Rosalind Smith. They married in 1946, and she would become his most trusted advisor.
They were not only married, for over 70 years they had a love affair.
Carter had to abandon his naval career to take over the family peanut business when his father died. The Carters moved back to Plains and started raising 3 sons and a daughter.
And this is you, huh?
Yeah.
This is little Chip.
Chip Carter is the second-born son. He recalls that against all odds, his father captured the Democratic nomination, and with Minnesota Senator Walter Mondale as his running mate, won the election.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
Chip Carter says he helped arrange one of the most famous images of the Carter inaugural.
I went to Dad's Secret Service agents and said we might want to do this walk.
Tradition-shattering walk down Pennsylvania Avenue.
And that walk seemed to symbolize the open and energetic approach Jimmy Carter would bring to the White House. But it was to be a tumultuous presidency, in part because of Carter's complex personality.
He was humble, affable, open, and then also he could be difficult, prickly, stubborn.
Journalist and author Jonathan Alter spent many hours with Carter for a biography.
There was much more accomplishment in the Carter presidency than I had thought.
Famous for wearing sweaters to dramatize how he turned down the White House thermostats, Carter pushed through comprehensive energy legislation. He created the Department of Education, deregulated airlines, doubled the amount of land in our national parks. And in one of his most important and controversial initiatives, Carter negotiated the return of the Panama Canal Zone to the Panamanians.
This opens a new chapter in our relations with all nations of this hemisphere.
But perhaps his crowning foreign policy accomplishment was pushing through the Camp David Accords,
Very good.
the historic 1978 agreement between Israel and Egypt.
And that treaty is the most successful peace treaty since World War II.
But in 1979, other Mideast issues would lead to gasoline shortages that created high prices and long waits at gas stations. Carter's popularity plummeted, and in July, he decided to give a speech to the nation, warning of a crisis in confidence.
Too many of us now tend to worship self-indulgence and consumption.
Much to the surprise of many politicos and pundits,
The speech was immediately popular.
The speech hit a raw nerve contrary to my own belief. And then he stepped on his own headlines. He asked for the resignation of his entire cabinet. It looked like the whole government was in chaos.
And then
We're using every available channel to protect the safety of the hostages and to secure their release.
in November of '79, 52 Americans were taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Iran, followed by a failed attempt to get them out, all in the lead-up to the 1980 presidential election.
The roof caved in on Jimmy Carter.
And so Jimmy Carter would lose to the upbeat message of Ronald Reagan. But it was the start of a whole new chapter.
you've been quoted as saying that you think maybe you've had a better ex-presidency than presidency.
Well, that may be true. Certainly my reputation has been better in the post-presidential years than maybe in the White House.
And no wonder. He and Rosalind, who died in 2023, founded the Carter Center to promote democracy and improve health care around the world.
In 2002, Jimmy Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize.
We will not learn how to live together in peace by killing each other's children.
Carter wrote more than 30 books over the years, and he and Rosalind would continue their work building homes for Habitat for Humanity.
Morning, everybody. Morning. All right, I see you wide awake.
All the while teaching Sunday school in Plains.
Everybody look this way.
At times, Jimmy Carter could seem like a Superman, coming back in 2015 from melanoma that had spread to his brain and liver. At 100, James Earl Carter Jr. lived longer than any other American president.
So, how do you think your father should be remembered?
A beautiful human being who gave everything he could to his children and his country, and who made it a better place than when he found it. And that's about as good as I can get.